The Maw of Nexar 9 wasn't built for mercy. The arena was carved into a crater left behind by a long-dead asteroid, its impact zone now repurposed for bloodsport. Sand baked under twin suns. Plasma pylons pulse around the circumference like jagged teeth. The stands held no seats, only tiers of stone and steel where alien elites gathered to gawk, to gamble, to devour screams like wine. And today, they came for something special. A human child. He stood alone in the killing ring, framed by the sun's brutal descent. Small, unarmed, shackled. His wrists bore the imprint of manacles etched with suppressor runes. One eye was bruised purple. The other, ice gray, stared forward without blinking. His skin was scraped raw in places, his lip blooded, his expression unreadable. He didn't flinch, didn't beg, didn't look for help, because there was no help coming. This was an execution dressed up as sport. High above, on a floating obsidian dais, a single voice roared to life, mechanical, lead, deafening. Lords and creatures of a void, welcome to Slaughter Cycle 900. The Challenger, a primitive fleshling from Earth, classified as Child Unit 3B. The Executioner, the Unbeaten, the Savage, the Legend, Vilaike the Untouchable. The ground shook, the Fargate thundered open, and the nightmare emerged. Vorak was 9 feet tall, armored in bolted bone and black iron. 4 arms, each thick as a soldier's torso. One eye glowed red. The other had long since been clawed out and replaced with a war brand, a crimson mark that identified him as a planetary conqueror. His mouth was a maw of hooked tusks and surgically reinforced teeth. 2 chain axes hung across his back, buzzing with sonic energy. The crowd erupted. Flamethrowers spat celebratory bursts into the air. And still, the boy didn't move. He simply watched. Measured. Silent. Begin! The voice howled. And death charged. Vorak roared and launched forward with inhuman speed, chain axes revving into twin arcs of molten metal. The ground trembled. Dust exploded around him. Sen turned to glass where his feet landed. The boy didn't run. Didn't even raise his hands. He stood still, breathing, calm, and then he flickered. One blink, and he was gone. Vorak's axes slammed into the ground with such force that the arena floor split, cracks spiding across the crater like lightning. But there was no body, no scream. Only, step, step. Vorak toned. Too slow. The boy was behind him now, standing on his back, barefoot, one hand already buried in the brute's cranial socket. One flick of the wrist. Crack! Vorak jerked once, twitched, then dropped face first into the sand like a collapsing titan. Dead. In 3 seconds. Silence. Not shock, paralysis. The audience didn't cheer, didn't jeer, didn't blink. Even the warlords of Krogfell, who'd once feasted on living opponents, stared without breath. The boy stepped off the corpse and walked forward slowly. His chains had melted away mid-movement. Something had fried them. His hands were soaked to the wrists in black alien blood, his chest rising with quiet precision. He raised his gaze to the floating dais, and locked eyes with a woman behind the glass. Council of Erexa. Reptilian. Elegant. Deadly. She'd orchestrated this event, paid for the child's retrieval from Earth's orbital ruins, bribed the pitmasters, weaponized the crowd. She expected a snuff show, a spectacle, a message to the outer colonies that Earth was extinct and her people extinct with it. But now, the message had changed, because the child was alive, and Vorak was dead. Her jaw tightened, her eyes narrowed, her voice, normally still and hunted, trembled. That's not possible. But it was. Across the arena, the boy stood silent in victory. He didn't raise his fists, didn't taunt, didn't bow. He simply looked, not at the counselor now, but past her, into the sky. And then he spoke. Not shouted, not screamed, just a sentence. Cold, precise, burned into memory. My name is Kale. A beat, and Earth never surrendered. Elsewhere, far above, tucked in the stadium scaffolding, a second boy smiled. Talon Ray lay prone on a steel girder, camouflaged by cloak tech so fine even the local drones didn't register his heartbeat. His rifle, a matte obsidian bolt lancer custom built by hand, rested beneath his cheekbone. Every kill it made was engraved on its spine, and it had a lot of kills. But Talon wasn't firing today. Today, he was watching, and the grin on his lips was razor-thin. "You beautiful little freak," he whispered. "You actually did it." His comms lit green. "Talon, report. Target Vorak terminated. 3 seconds. No interference. Is the subject intact?" "Intact, awake, activated." A pause on the other end. "Confirm ID match." Talon reached into his jacket and tapped a rune crystal. The scan locked on Kale's heat signature. Ping. Match Orion Beta 6. Status live. Protocol unlocked. Talon exhaled slowly. He touched the bolt lancer lovingly. "We found him." Down in the pit, Kale took a slow step forward. Something was changing behind his eyes now, something deeper. Not rage, not joy, awakening. The kind that came not from memory, but from programming buried under a dozen layers of neural locks. He looked at his hands, small, scarred. They weren't shaking. He didn't feel like a child anymore. He didn't feel human, either. He felt like a weapon that had finally heard its call sign. The guards ringed the arena. 30 of them. Sonic rifles raised. Stun nets crackling. A voice boomed from the sky. "This demon must be put down. All units. Fire." They opened fire. And Kale moved. It was the silence afterward that broke the crowd. Not the death. Not the gore. Not even the fact that Vorak the Untouchable now lay face down, leaking brain matter into the sand like a broken pipeline. No, it was the silence of the boy. The stillness. The restraint. He didn't cheer. Didn't collapse. Didn't scream some cathartic battle cry to punctuate the moment. He just stood there, alive and unshaken. His hands, still shackled in front of him, dripped with black blood, glistening in the heat like oil on a hot blade. The wind picked up, dust curled, and Kale's shadow stretched further across the pit, long and narrow and sharp-edged, like the silhouette of a weapon no one had seen before. Because he wasn't a child anymore. He was a message, and in a sniper's perch carved into the scorched scaffolding above the arena's northeast ridge, a boy with platinum blonde hair and cruel green eyes watched it all unfold through a scope and grinned. Talon Ray didn't believe in fate. Fate was for people who waited to die. Talon made choices. Fast ones, beautiful ones, lethal ones. His sniper rifle, a custom railboat model etched with mythic runes from the fallen moon of Pyridos, rested perfectly on its bipod as he adjusted focus and zoomed in on Kale's expression. Still calm. Still clocked in. "Beautiful," Talon murmured. "You're really one of us, aren't you?" He clicked his tongue, then tapped the comm device in his ear. "This is Ghostman," he said. "Target Vorak neutralized. Boy stable. 3-second execution. Whole pit just S." We saw a cold voice cut in. Female. Mid-30s. Commander tone. Confirm identity match. Talon slid his left glove off and pressed a scanner crystal to his scope. The feed crackled. A soft ping hit his comm. Subject, KLM. Designation, Orion Beta 6. Status, activated. Protocol match, 100%. Talon smirked. Confirmed. Then exfiltrate, the voice replied. Now. Phase 2's live. Leave no trace. With pleasure. Talon Ray didn't need to be told twice. He stood. The perch was small, barely a ledge of welded scrap and cracked ceramic, but he balanced on it like it was home. His suit was matte black, skin-tight, with armored ribs and twin thigh holsters. 2 knives, mirror-twin, curved, and bone-handled, glinted under his coat. Talon leapt from the perch, spun mid-air, landed gracefully on the narrow walkway below. A patrol guard, a 4-eyed brute from the Drex Syndicate, turned to look. Who the F? The words never finished. Talon's knife went through his throat and out the other side. Clean. Silent. Perfect. The body slumped without a sound. 1 down, Talon whispered. 9 to go. Down below, the arena guard were moving. 30 of them, armed with sonic rifles, plasma nets, and stun grenades, rushed into the pit like a pack of armored wolves. Kale watched them approach, unmoved. They circled him. Guns raised. No warning. Just instinct. Eliminate the anomaly. Final chance. One barked in Galactic Common. Down on your knees, hands behind your head. Kale tilted his head. The man blinked, confused. Kale smiled, then vanished. It wasn't magic. It was Orion code. He flickered, a glitch in real space, a moment of light breaking reality. He reappeared behind the guard who'd spoken, and jammed the man's own weapon through the back of his spine, until it snapped through his chest. The rest opened fire. Kale dropped, rolled, ripped the rifle from the dead man's hands, and used it as a club, not to fire, but to break knees. One guard tried a net. Kale caught it midair, wrapped it around the guard's throat, yanked. The neck snapped like dry wood. The rest? They ran in panic. But it was too late. Kale blurred again. He moved like a whisper made of broken glass and rage. His shackles had broken during the flicker. No more restraints. Just hands, feet, speed, and pain. He didn't fight like a trained soldier. He fought like something designed to punish anyone who thought children were weak. By the end of it, 30 guards lay twitching or still. Some broken, some bleeding, some missing parts. Kale stood in the middle, breathing steadily. He looked at his own hands, then whispered, 3 seconds for the monster, 30 for the cleanup. Talon dropped into the pit behind him. His landing made no noise. Kale didn't tone. He didn't need to. You're late, Kale said quietly. Talon raised an eyebrow. I was watching, like I was told to. Kale looked over his shoulder. You didn't think to help? Why ruin perfection? Talon shrugged. You made it look easy. Kale's eyes narrowed. We're not here for performance. Speak for yourself, Talon said, twirling his knife. I'm always here for the show. Kale didn't respond. He looked up at the floating glass tower where Council of Erexa watched from above. Talon followed his gaze. You want her? Kale nodded. Then we go now, Talon said, voice hardening, before she scrubs her feeds. Kale reached down and picked up one of the drop guard knives. It was shaped like a fang, serrated. He twirled it once, and grinned. Let's make them remember. Far above, Council of Erexa had already begun moving. The glass walls sealed shut with a hiss. A squad of elite Praetorian guards flanked her, each in obsidian armor armed with grave spears and override pistols. Purge the data feeds, she ordered. Trace the breach. Eliminate the uplink. No one beyond this system sees that footage. A technician raised a trembling hand. See, Counselor, too late. The live feed was being rebroadcast. Sector 5s, 7, and 9 all ping backstreaming data. Then cut their hearts out, she snarled. But her voice shook, just a little, because she hadn't ordered Vorak's defeat. She had ordered Kale's execution, and what she got instead was a war declaration. Elsewhere, across the stars, the feed had already gone viral. Millions watched. Billions. The child. The 3 seconds. The moment where hope returned to a species long written off as fragile. Earth hadn't just survived. It had evolved. The first pulse bolt tore through Kale's shadow, missed by a hair. He didn't flinch. He was already moving. The 30 arena guards encircling him had numbers, armor, firepower, orders to erase him. But they didn't have what Kale had. Clarity. 3 seconds. That was all he ever needed. He ducked low as the next bolt sang past, rolled under the first guard's legs, disarming him mid-spin. One hand on the rifle barrel, the other driving upward into his ribs. Crack, just enough force to break 3 bones and collapse the lungs. Another guard lunge. Wrong move. Kale pivoted, twisting the rifle backward into the man's face. Snap, the helmet shattered, visor embedded into his skull. A third tried a plasma net from above. Kale jumped. Mid-air, he grabbed the net and yanked. The guard on the ledge lost his grip. He fell 30 feet. Didn't rise. The others tried to regroup, forming a semicircle. Classic tactical box. Wrong again. Kale vanished. A flicker. No teleportation. Just speed. A microburst of Orion code propulsion, stored in his nervous system like lightning behind bone. When he reappeared, he was standing behind them. One by one, he walked through the formation, breaking knees, snapping elbows, driving fists into pressure points engineered to disable organics. He wasn't just fighting. He was testing. His programming wasn't muscle memory. It was a library of death. High above, Talon Ray watched the massacre unfold through the scope of his bolt lancer. Not with awe, not with fear, but with hunger. This kid, he whispered, this thing. He had seen elite assassins choke when overwhelmed. He'd seen generals break under pressure, warriors freeze mid-fight. But Kale thrived in it. He moved with elegance. Brutality, mathematical violence. Sniper unit Ghostmint, report, barked a voice in his calm Commander Vessa. Still observing, Talon muttered, you were ordered to exfil. We're past that. Clarify. Talon scope caught Kale, grabbing a falling enemy midair and driving his heel into the man's jaw before they hit the ground. Here's not an asset, Talon said. Here's the ignition. Of what? Earth's revenge. Back in the pit, Kale stood among the broken. Every guard was down. Some still breathed, but only barely. Kale wiped his blooded hands on his torn tunic and turned toward the far gates. Above them, on a platform of mirrored steel, Councilor Virexa stood flanked by her Praetorians. Her gaze met his. She didn't blink. Neither did he. And then he said it again, soft but clear. Earth never surrendered. The gates boomed open, but it wasn't more guards. It was Talon Ray, now stripped of his sniper cloak, dual pistols holstered on his hips, bolt lancers slung over his back, and twin daggers drawn. He dropped into the arena, landed beside Kale. The two looked at each other, measured, sized up. You really are the one they buried, Talon said. You were watching. Guilty. You came to kill me if I failed. Talon didn't answer. Kale smirked. Good. That means I can trust you. Suddenly, the sky cracked. The arena shields collapsed. Someone had hacked them from inside. The sound of sirens split the air. Drop ships thundered in from orbit. But they weren't reinforcements for the Council. They bore a symbol burned into myth. A skull wrapped in flame. The burning signal. Human spec-ups. Ghostborn division. Backups here, Talon said. Kale raised an eyebrow. I didn't call them. You didn't have to. The first ship crashed through the upper walls, exploded in light, outpoured black-armored figures moving with machine speed, spraying suppressor fire, clearing towers with non-lethal rounds not meant to kill humans. The aliens? They weren't so lucky. Kale looked back at Talon. We fight together now. Not unless you slow me down. Try to keep up. They moved as one. Kale and Talon. The sniper and the weapon. Their rhythm was unnatural. Kale would vault over a collapsing wall while Talon sniped the enemy on the far end before Kale landed. One would break a lock. The other would breach the door. Two boys, barely 17 in frame, demolishing an entire galactic execution facility in under 4 minutes. Every hallway they entered lit up with muzzle flash and ended in silence. Blood on metal. Boots on steel. Voices screaming orders that never finished. They were myth in motion. On the top platform, Councilor Virexa watched her empire burn. How? She rasped. How is he alive? Her second-in-command, a spindly Deckery hybrid, shook. It's worse. Sector 9 received a leak. The entire galaxy saw the arena feed. How many? 3 billion views. And rising. Virexa turned pale. They'll think Earth is strong again. They'll know, the Deckery said. And worse, they'll rally. A moment of silence passed. Then, send word to the core. To whom? Everyone, she said. Declare KLM as Class Z anomaly. That classification is reserved for. I know what it's reserved for, she screamed. On the ground, Kale reached the power hub, a glowing chamber of volatile plasma that powered the entire execution district. It pulsed like a heart, barely contained. Talon looked at him. You thinking what I'm thinking? Leave a message. Loud one. Kale nodded, then drove his fist into the core. The overload started instantly. Sirens howled. Talon grabbed Kale by the wrist, yanked him backward, and hit his comm. Ghostman to extraction, now. Confirmed. Arc pod en route. ETA 11 seconds. We'll be gone in 10. The pod arrived like a spear through fire. Kale and Talon dove in. The moment the hatch sealed, the power hub detonated. A sun bloomed over Nexar-9. The arena, the pit, the palace, the prison was vaporized. The crowd? Evacuated too late. The council? Buried in plasma. All that remained was the footage and the name, KLM. In the silence that followed, as the pod ascended into orbit, Talon finally turned to Kale. What now? Kale stared out the viewport as Nexar-9 burned. They wanted evicting. He stood, straightened his shoulders. They got a war. Class Z anomaly, KLM. Bounty, 900 million credits, dead only. Those words pulsed across every black market terminal, pirate uplink, slaver comms ring, and high-orbit assassin hub within 9 core sectors of the galaxy. Not captured, not spared, dead. The last time the Galactic Concord issued a Class Z was during the fall of Eldara, when a single rogue AI hijacked a Starfleet and burned an entire moon into glass. Kale, a boy, had just joined that infamous rank. And worse, the footage didn't lie. A child had slaughtered 30 elite guards, killed Vorak, and walked away. No weapon, no armor, just fury and hands. The galaxy blinked, and then reached for its knives. In orbit above the ruins of Nexar-9, the extraction pod roared into the hangar bay of a Black Ops war frigate, Shadow Arc 7. As the hatch blew open, Kale stepped out without hesitation, dragging the oxygen mask from his face. Talon followed, holstering his bolt lancer, sweat still drying across his collarbone. The lights inside the hangar were red, pulsing, emergency lockdown. Sirens low. Dozens of operators turned to stare at the boy they had recovered. Some with awe, some with fear. Kale ignored them. His eyes went straight to the command deck above the floor, where she stood. General Sila Mardex, ex-Ghostborn, the woman who trained Talon, the woman who'd authorized Kale's awakening. Her uniform was black, her face unscarred, her presence unmistakable, sharp enough to cut metal, silent enough to command without words. She descended the stage with the gravity of war behind every step. Kale met her halfway. You sent Talon. I did. To recover me. A pause. To judge you. Kale's expression didn't change. Not even slightly. Did I pass? Silas smiled. No warmth. You survived. That's not what I asked. A pause stretched thin. Talon folded his arms. Watched the tension. Then finally, Silas' voice sharpened. You passed. The war room sealed behind them. Silas stood before a holomat projecting sectors now burning in red. Planets, moons, cities reacting to the bounty. Kale stood still, analyzing, reading code faster than anyone his age should have been able to. Talon leaned against the door, silent. Nexar's destruction didn't just piss off the council, Silas said. It did something worse. It made the outer sectors believe Earth is back. Kale nodded once. Good. No, not good, she snapped. You started something that can't be undone. That was the point. She stepped forward. You don't understand the scale, Kale. There are warlords forming coalitions. Hunter syndicates are already en route. They saw you. You became the signal they were all waiting for. Let them come. Talon finally spoke. His right, General. The galaxy forgot Earth for too long. They needed to remember. This isn't about memory anymore, she growled. It's about survival. Kale finally moved toward the holomap. He pointed at 3 sectors blinking red. These, Alaxis Drift, the Jorvan Curve, and Binary Crest, are ancient siege corridors. Sila raised an eyebrow. How do you know that? I don't, Kale said quietly, but something inside me does. A silence fell. The room suddenly felt colder. Sila walked to the table, pulled a thin case from beneath it, locked her eyes on Talon. Do it. Talon's smile vanished. You sure? Now, sniper. He opened the case. Inside was a vial. No label. The contents shimmered like molten glass, whispering against its walls with unnatural motion. Kale stared at it, and without being told, he stepped forward. "What is that?" "Protocol Omega," Silas said. "What's it for?" "You." The injection burned like liquid fire. Kale dropped to his knees as the serum fused with his blood, racing through his veins like awakening ghosts. Memories not his own flashed through his skull. Data, tactics, names, kill patterns, weapon schematics, galactic maps long thought lost. His heart rate flatlined for 3.7 seconds, then surged. His eyes opened and glowed. He stood. No emotion, no panic, just clarity. "I remember." "What?" Sila asked. "Everything they made me forget." Silence. Then Kale turned to the map. His voice sharper now. "The Council didn't just target Earth. They erased the Orion children." "That program was classified," Sila whispered. "Not anymore," Kale said. "How many of you are left?" Talon asked. Kale looked straight ahead and said nothing. Elsewhere, far across the stars, a desert moon hummed. Its surface was broken glass. Lightning storms howled in orange skies. Beneath it, a facility, buried under miles of rock and forgotten by time, lit up for the first time in 20 years. A heartbeat signal. A call. Deep in its coldest chamber, something opened its eyes. Call sign, Aurora X7. Status, reawakening. Back on Shadow Arc 7, Sila looked at Kale and Talon. "Listen to me carefully. The bounty on your head, Kale, isn't about money. It's about fear. They saw a boy break a war legend with his bare hands. They saw you destroy a fortress. That footage will inspire revolts." "Good." "That's not good," she growled. "That's chaos. And they'll send things far worse than soldiers now." Talon raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" Sila turned and tapped the map. 3 words pulsed in blood red across the center. "Reapers inbound." Kale's eyes narrowed. "I thought they were myths." "So did I," Sila said, "until they answered the bounty. Reapers, assassins engineered in the void between black holes. They didn't breathe oxygen. They didn't bleed. They didn't sleep. Born in gravity fields, trained in one thing, erasing anomalies." Talon checked his rifle. "Then we'll erase them first." Kale's voice was calm. "No, we do worse." "Worse?" "We make them remember who we are." Silas stepped forward, dropped a single item on the table. A black card. No ID. No symbol. Just a name. Project. Widow Protocol. Talon stepped back. "You're activating that." "We have to," Silas said. "He's not the only Orion child out there, and they're going to need more than luck." Kale picked up the card, held it in his palm. His voice cut the silence like glass. "Then let's burn the stars." They tried to erase him. They tried to erase her. Now they'll erase the stars instead. Sector 7 Zeta. Void dark. No sun. No orbiting satellites. Just an ancient asteroid fortress known as Vanta Black, once a deep research outpost, now a secret Reaper stronghold. Inside, the temperature was a steady 2 degrees Celsius. Humid with decay. Silent but for the hum of breathing masks and the scrape of clawed boots across obsidian floors. 5 Reapers stood before a monolithic obsidian wall where the bounty message still blinked. Class Z anomaly, KLM. Dead only. No voices were exchanged. Reapers didn't speak. They accepted the kill order and vanished. Back on Shadow Arc 7, Kale stood at the center of the Widow Protocol chamber, lights circling him like orbiting blades. The room was old, forgotten. No officer dared enter it for years. Until now, Talon stood by the edge, arms crossed, watching the process initiate. "She was your sister?" he asked Sila. "Not by blood," she replied. "By war. You buried her. We thought she was dead. And now?" Sila keyed in the final command. Now she wakes up angry. The cryopod hissed open. She stepped out. 17. Human. Built like silence and storm. Hair cut short, eyes half-lit with old tech and half-lit with pain. Her arms were scarred from collar to wrist, runes and kill tattoos. On her back, 2 folded ion blades. On her face, nothing. Not joy, not rage, just recognition. She looked at Kale. He stepped forward. Name. Her voice was quiet, sharp as glass. Call sign, Widowmaker. Across the galaxy, when her pulse signature reappeared on encrypted networks, 6 mercenary syndicates shut down operations. 2 bounty hunters self-terminated before they could be found. 1 warlord jumped ship. Widowmaker was not a rumor. She was a failed nightmare no one wanted waking up. And now, she had a target. They put a bounty on your head, she said to Kale. Good, he replied. Let's send a refund. The Reapers arrived in orbit first. They didn't announce. They didn't signal. They pierced reality itself, phasing between dimensions, their ships shaped like fangs dipped in shadow. Inside Arc 7 command deck, alarms detonated. Sila turned to Kale, Talon, and Widowmaker. You 3 are outgunned. We have no idea what new tech they are using. We don't need to outgun them, Kale said. We just need to trap them. They landed in silence. Reapers breached the hull like shadows birthed from gravity fractures. No lights, no engine trails, just presence. The first to step inside was 9 feet tall, semi-organic, wielding 2 wrist blades humming at light speed frequencies. He stopped before the hangar doors. The second moved through walls. The third walked upside down across the ceiling, scanning for infrared movement like a predator in dead space. They were machines of extinction, designed to eliminate anomalies. Tonight, they met their match. Talon struck first. He dropped from the upper vents like a wraith, bolt lancer already charged. 1 shot split the lead Reaper's visual core. Another round lodged into its hip socket, where Talon triggered the overload and detonated its left leg. But it didn't fall. Kale was already there, on it, slamming both palms into its spine, disrupting the phase core. With a twist of bone and steel, he ripped the interface spine out and hurled the body across the floor. 1 down. Another Reaper phased behind him. Too late. Widowmaker's ion blade ignited mid-air, catching the invisible outline and carving straight through its torso in a vertical cleave. Spark sprayed. The body twitched and dropped. She didn't blink. She moved again. She became smoke. The battle wasn't a firefight. It was a war dance. Talon rolling between pillars, executing mid-air reloads and rafter shots. Widowmaker vanishing, reappearing behind enemies and removing skulls. Kale moving like he was born to kill gravity. Reapers tried adapting, tried recalibrating their core routines. Failed. Their weapons couldn't track fast enough. Their sensors couldn't predict the moves. They hadn't faced humans like these. But then, the final Reaper activated Mark 0. The floor liquefied. The walls turned inside out. A simulated black hole burst in the hangar's core. Everything began to collapse inward. It's triggering a singularity. Talon shouted. We can't stop it, Widowmaker growled. No, Kale said. He stepped forward, hands out, eyes glowing. But I can contain it. The singularity reached full spin. Kale walked into it. Piece by piece, the energy peeled his skin. His blood boiled. His nerves burned. He kept walking. Every simulation, every code, every chemical enhancement ever injected into him ignited. The Omega protocol inside him unlocked its final key. The data inside his bones screamed. But Kale? He screamed louder. You took my planet. He grabbed the singularity by its edge. Yes, grabbed it. You erased my name. He crushed it between his hands. A star imploded, then died. Silence, just smoke, flickering power, and 3 figures still standing. Kale, Talon, Widowmaker, unscathed. Hours later, the footage went live. The death of the Reapers, the survival of Widowmaker, the boy who crushed a black hole. It wasn't just broadcast. It was sent directly into the communication feeds of every council vessel, every bounty hunter's terminal, every galactic governor's desk. A single file. To those who took our children. To those who forgot our fire. Earth never forgave. And at the bottom, a symbol, two skulls, one with a blade, one with fire behind the eyes. Kale, Widowmaker. They made U.S. monsters. Now we make war. Final scene. Far away, unknown system. A child sat in a cave, eyes flickering. He had the same eyes Kale did, the same scars. A holoblade before him. You're not alone, Kale's voice whispered. We're coming for you.